So I've wanted to switch away from Unity for quite a few years now, and while everyone has been kind of pointing out the sinking ship, the recent occurrences with IronSource and the CEO basically calling everyone who does this creatively effing idiots for not having proper business revenue model, I'm not jumping ship just yet. Now, I've wanted to jump ship. I've wanted to head over to Unreal or Godot, or even Flax has been a very interesting engine I've been keeping my eye on. I'm still going to stick around for a few reasons, which I'm going to point out quite quickly. But before I do that, I just want to say, look, I understand certain people are frustrated and annoyed at the news that's come out with this. I think people should not virtue signal and just jump ship from the engine just because it's the right thing to do in the community space. I think you should come to your own opinion. And so if you use Unity, I think you really need to think of these questions first before you jump ship. Are you leaving Unity because this is the final nail in the coffin for you? This is the one thing that's kind of broken the camel's back in terms of just things they haven't done right for you as a company, and you just think, anything more than this is going to be just awful for me, whether it's adding certain transactions or features to the engine. For example, if you actually pay for a Unity license, do you feel that your money is being spent somewhere on something that you don't care too much for? Because I think for bigger studios or people who pay for a pro indie license, yes, this is actually a very important question for you, because if you're an independent game developer spending money on this engine, and you see that the company is no longer working towards your goals and isn't being friendly towards you and your community, then yes, I think that is good enough value to leave and go somewhere else. But I hope no one's doing it just because everyone's mad on Twitter. I hope no one's doing it just because they heard of an interview comment out of context. I hope that people who leave Unity as an engine and software and basically as a supportive company that are, so many independent, and not even just independent, just game developers across the board have loved for years. I hope that you aren't jumping off just because you see other people doing it. Because guess what? We aren't in some crisis emergency, okay? The engine that you were using before all this controversy is kind of still there. I think these topics definitely show some of the writing on the wall that they're not really concerned for independent game developers, and this has been a PR nightmare for them. But at the same time, if, for me, for example, I'm going to keep using Unity. Okay, I think I'm going to say that right out the box. I should have said that with the intro, but I didn't. I'm going to keep using Unity to work on Coco Loco. First and foremost, because it doesn't change anything in the way that I work. Right now, I use the free license. My money isn't going towards anything. And look, if my game's successful, I need to pay for a license for the builds that I'm doing. I'm happy to do that to that extent, because I think that all the years and all the people who work at the company who've worked so hard to make the engine I use today do deserve some of that money that I earn as a creator, because without them, I wouldn't have been able to do that in the first place. Legitimately, I'm sticking with Unity just for a little bit longer because of how much they've helped me along my game dev journey. While Game Maker and Unreal and CryEngine and all these other proprietary game engines weren't free, Unity was free for me to learn and use. They had great resources, and they were an outlet for me growing up to learn how to make games. And so I think although a few people have made some bad decisions on the business end, I think the people who are really going to feel the pain from this is not necessarily going to be the CEO who probably gets a slap on the wrist from the board members. It's going to be those people who either lose their jobs because guess what? The licenses have gone down now, or the heartbroken developers who have been working on this engine and these new features for these amazing communities aren't going to see the flourishingness of what they've created. They're not going to be able to see their product used by those who they set out to make it for. Then that's heartbreaking for me. And it sucks that this situation has come across, because I feel like it's not benefiting anyone. Hands down. Now, in the industry and space, there are some very loud people who like to virtue signal and basically cancel anything or anyone who doesn't do what they think is right. Am I trying to defend what's been said and done? No. What I'm trying to say is, don't irrationally make a critical decision like that and judge people and become a really loud and obnoxious voice, not willing to listen to the other side. I think that's really dangerous to do, because even if you're in the right in this instance, in the future, you might be wrong and overlook that and just sink your nails into the problem that you think you are correct on. So I think for sure, if you have looked at the information and you look at where you are in terms of a developer and you don't feel comfortable using Unity anymore, then go somewhere else, find somewhere else. If you feel like you have to leave Unity because everyone else around you is saying to leave Unity, don't do that. Don't go with the mob mentality. I think it's really important, especially if you're a creative person who's using a tool, don't stop using a paintbrush because everyone's gone off to do photography. Now, if the paint is poisonous and you think it's dangerous to use, then by all means, if you don't feel comfortable, don't use the paint. I really want to emphasize this on people who might be watching this to figure out, should I stick with Unity? Should I leave? It's really important that you yourself as an individual think critically on what your values are, what your ethics are, and what those decisions can lead to. Because for me, the reason why I'm sticking with Unity is because I've worked on a game project for the past year. It's not done yet, but too much work has been put in to go to another engine. That's going to be another 2 to 3 years. And I'm already struggling to try and get this project done in a software and tool that I'm comfortable and familiar with, which already has a range of different resources that I can use and understand and problem solve. I'm used to fixing bugs in Unity. I'm used to finding workarounds for that. I'm used to troubleshooting. I understand the limitations of the engine. And so for me to move on to Godot or to Unreal, certain processes might be faster. We've seen this in other videos that, Godot's... I want to one day make a game in Godot, or Godot, as lots of people say. I think Godot is the pronunciation term for it. It's because there's a T in it. And look, that's another debate for another video. And I'd love to make something in that engine. However, it's going to take time for me to learn that, and I don't currently have the time to do that when I'm trying to make a different product. As well, people shouldn't hop on Godot just because it's free and open source. It's not a replacement for Unity by any means. I'm not saying it's not powerful, I'm just saying it's a very different tool. There's limitations, and there's things that obviously it does a lot better. It's a lot faster, it's a lot more streamlined. I love the fact that there's a code editor within the engine itself. That's fantastic. And the soon to be released new version of Godot looks amazing. I'm excited. I think once that comes out of beta and is like a full product, I'm going to start dabbling with it a bit more over the weekends in my free time. Unreal, kind of same scenario. Certain things are more streamlined, it's more designer friendly, and it is a AAA engine. And so you're going to be able to make AAA and indie games that we've seen within the engine. However, the way you work in the engine and the issues that may arise are certainly different from Unity. Now, I've actually been playing around with Unreal Engine 5, and I'm kind of semi-loving it. I think my next project, for sure, I'm going to move away from Unity to Unreal, but it's not so much because of the controversies that have arrived here. It's because of the tools that Unity has to offer and the future that Unity is going towards. And not only that, it's the fact that Unreal has this great tool base for what I want my next game to be like. The graphics work well with it. The gameplay is very Unreal friendly, and it's something I think that needs more methodical thinking overall in terms of design, which Unreal is also great for. Unity is great for rapid, quick iteration, fantastic for it. Also great for mobile. If I ever need to make a mobile game, I think I'm going to go back to Unity. Godot, maybe, possibly, I'm not quite sure. But it isn't the controversies with IronSource or with the CEO of Unity that's making me leave the engine. This has definitely made me think a lot harder about what's happening ahead of us, because we've seen this a lot with the way that the universe from the pipeline, HDR, and even just the way that they're moving away from games and going more towards production work, visual communication with architecture, AR, VR, of course. I think I'd go back to Unity just because there's some really great assets made kind of just out of the box that work well with Unity for VR. Unreal, look, they're going to get very expensive, and there's a lot of things you need to do yourself, which is quite time consuming if you don't know the math or have the knowledge or understanding or even just the time to do it all. Because for me, for example, I'm working maybe 1 to 2 hours a couple of nights a week, if that. And so to build a whole tool base off of a Unreal project to make a VR thing, that's going to take too long for me. I need the community's help in terms of having assets available for me to finish my games on time, in a timely manner, with the polish that I love to incorporate in my projects. I think what the CEO has said is quite rude. I don't think anyone should have said that, especially look, he's come out and apologized, but far out. We'll probably get some sort of people have said, after he apologized, that he should actually, place words of action. And I'm sure we'll get something along those lines, but I don't think it's going to be as big and grandeur as we all want it to be, because quite honestly, what all of us want Unity to do is step away from everything else and just focus on games. Focus on making the best games, the best tools to make the best games. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Of course, there's going to be updates to game services and features within the engine, but that's not where the money is. The money is in film and animation, and Viscom production, architecture, ArchViz, whatever else they like to call it. That's where the money is, in the commercial aspects of things. Games as an entertainment platform, look, if you're looking to find the money, which Unity is, because unfortunately they don't have Fortnite to back them up, Gyga, I think that's the name of the project they're working on, has just been shelved for eternity now, which is also really sad. That's another problem. But to kind of wrap my ramblings into why I'm leaving the engine eventually, is because everything as an engine has either been deprecated, so it's out of date, no longer in use, no longer going to get any updates. They're basically saying, look, this is still here because some of you still use this, but don't use it anymore if you're coming new on board to it. There's lots of preview and in-progress stuff, which, look, they have gotten a lot better. There was a few versions back where bloody everything I was using was just in a preview mode. So many bugs, so many issues. It just felt like a janky mess. I feel like they've improved a bit in that regard, in terms of, render pipelines and certain tools that have finally become more stable, I think, personally. The compiler, but that's with any engine really, is atrocious. Doesn't matter how small the code changes when I'm working on the project, it's always going to reload everything. But look, Unreal's just as bad at compiling code, okay? So don't at me with saying that Unreal's better than Unity, because they both have their pros and cons. But I think I'm going to move away from Unity slowly and surely after this project, because I love the idea of Godot being open source. If I had a bigger studio, if I'm able to do that in the future, I'm definitely going to hire engineers who can just work off of Godot to build our own engine, or modify it to the point where it would be our own engine. There's things in Godot that already are incredible to use. And look, maybe if things work out financially, we can just add that to the engine open source. It'd be great to work on that, be that part of that community. I think Godot's an amazing community, and I've always wanted to figure out ways that I could help them out there, because I just think that's amazing. I think Godot has the potential to be as good as Blender. However, the creator has come out and said that he's kind of mortally afraid of everyone jumping ship on some engine like Unity and just going to Godot because, that's the next best, closest thing, and then having this overwhelming feeling and terror of people complaining about certain things not working, like getting too much attention at once, not having this gradual controlled growth, just having a crisis from one engine that ends up making its way onto another. That's scary and terrifying. And so when I do go into Godot, I'm going to kind of slaw myself into what is the engine, what it's capable of, what I can do with it. And by understanding the limitations of the engine, then I can kind of figure out what I can make with it and what I can't make with it. The reason why I've been so consistent with Coco Loco is because I have the ingrained vision of the end product. I know how I want it to look, and I know how to accomplish that, and I'm working my hardest in the time frame given to get that to you. And so if you as a developer have that vision and know that you're capable of doing that, and people say, hey, that's a fun, interesting idea, then you need to hold on to that and accomplish that. And Unity for now is allowing me to accomplish with the tool set that it can give me. I'm quite comfortable using it. I'm going to keep using it. And the reason why I'm leaving after Coco Loco is simply because the tool base is walking away from game development. And even simple things like starter assets aren't ground enough for me to feel comfortable in starting a new project in it, unless it has to do with mobile game development. If someone contracts me out to make a project in a very quick, short time frame, go into Unity because that's what I'm most trained in. Or, for example, with the VR, I have some amazing packages that can get me on the ground running, where with other engines it's going to take a lot longer. And as we've all seen in terms of the CEO and just the business model in general, majority of the acquisitions, although some things I've been very interested to see how they work, game related, like with Weta and Ziva, like if they can somehow find a competent competition to MetaHuman that's actually better, because far out Weta Digital should be able to do that, and Ziva has some amazing tools. Like if they can really incorporate that stuff into the engine and have it be freely available for me to use, and it's easily accessible, and I don't need some 4 GPUs or a Threadripper to accomplish that. If it allows me, the everyday person, to work in it, then I might stay on board. If they're able to fix this, I don't think the ship is completely sunk yet. There are holes in it. They need to steer somehow towards games, but also find a way to be profitable off it. And I think that's something they've had the most struggle with, is the issue being that they are a game engine who can no longer make money from games. If they could, they would steer in that direction and would have that. I think because games are a creative venture and developers are less inclined to make money from their games, it's more of a creative freedom type thing, they're going to have to go to other outlets just to get the money because they're a company that needs to survive. Companies will do that when they have to. And here's my final thing, okay? If you're jumping ship off of Unity, not because of the tool base, not because you see them moving away from the industry and tool set that you want to work with, but you see them because they said something politically incorrect, rude, intrusive, or they're working with a company that might, have a history of being a bit sketchy, just remember when Tencent bought out shares for Epic Games. And Godot, although it's open source, those people have opinions and lives and careers. And if you're going to move from toolset to toolset based on the people who have worked on it or who are in charge of it, that's dumb, because you're basically limiting yourself and protesting, but that's not really doing anything for anyone. And I might be stepping on my foot here when I just said that you shouldn't be doing that, but then if you feel ethically and morally inclined to do it, you should. I think if you don't feel comfortable giving people your support or money because of the things they say or do, I 100% agree with that, okay? I'm like that with certain media and shows. I just don't want to support them because the things that they put on a pedestal, or even just include in what they do, I don't like, I don't support, I don't feel comfortable with that, okay? If you open Unity and feel sick to your stomach giving money to people who would call you an effing idiot, or who would buy out a company that's known for having a scam installer, okay, I think that's fair income enough to jump ship. But if that's the only reason and the tool set is still there and nothing's changed, I think you need to separate yourself, especially if you're working on something right now, from the company and the business decisions and the tool set and things you have. Because I think, look, if you can make a game in the Unity engine, get the money you need, and then just bounce out of that engine, go somewhere else with the money that you just made from using their tool set, which is something I kind of plan to do. I plan to build a business off of making games, or a game in particular in Unity, and then using those funds elsewhere. If it means that I can get that thing done quicker, faster, and it kind of helps me in the long run, I think that's a good thing. Am I wrong in saying that? Look, people can call me out on certain things, but I hope you can kind of understand what I'm trying to say here. I'm just trying really hard not to virtue signal and say, ugh, Uni bad because CEO bad, because companies that they're buying out are bad. Because the tools haven't changed. And those tools weren't necessarily made by any of those people. It was made by other people who had care and love for that. And I still want to support those people who are still under those conditions. Probably some developers at Unity and people who work there who don't feel comfortable with either of those things that have happened, but guess what? They still need the job. They don't feel comfortable leaving their team. They want to keep working on this engine that they love. And so I think some of us should have the same mindset, obviously. If we still love Unity and love what it's done and been for us, I think we should defend it and try to right or wrong. I don't think, okay, and here's another important thing when it comes to the cancel culture, and people on the internet especially need to learn this, is that you need to forgive people and give others a second chance, okay? People will have consequences for their actions. I think 100% if you do something wrong that you should suffer the consequence for that action, okay? But once that has been redeemed and once you are with a sincere heart wanting to change, I think people should have the opportunity to be better because that's all a part of life, okay? But that has been my rambly discussion on Unity as an engine. It definitely made me panic at first. I was like, well, crap, I guess I'm leaving this engine. This company has failed me for good now. But sitting back and thinking, I had to reconsider, okay, what has happened and how has it affected me? And pondering upon my ethics and what my decisions will lead to, because it's really important that we try to be rational and we try to be forgiving without forgetting necessarily. So I'm not forgetting all the times that Unity has screwed me over by not doing certain things that will help the games community in their tool set. I definitely, remembered all the times that they've focused more on ArchViz or VR, AR, all this other stuff, when really I just wanted a game engine to make games in. I haven't forgotten that. And so this is just another strike for them. But I feel like with how much of a controversy this has created, because it's been massive, it has not shut up. Like I wasn't going to do a video on this topic. I thought everyone's covered everything for this engine. It wasn't until people actually said, hey, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts as someone who's working in Unity, that I was like, all right, fine, I'll sit down and ramble about it for a little bit, because yeah, all the information's out there and it's time that we as individuals make our own decision. Obviously, as a group, we can probably come to a consensus and say, okay, this has not been good for us, but please don't just hop off of Unity because someone on Twitter angrily said that they are just this evil, unethical company. Because we need to be more forgiving in the world. There's so much hatred and despise for things. And I get that, because there are things out there that are disgusting. There are actions and words and deeds that have gone unjustly against others. And so I'm not saying at all that we should not hold those people accountable. But far out, if they are willing to grow, that's something that the world needs right now. We need people who can make mistakes and actually learn from them. Because the one thing I've seen so much is that not only are people just crying over simple hardships, they don't know how to get over them. They think that, okay, this thing's happened and this is just how it's going to be. And unless these things that I demand, nothing's going to be fixed. And so I think we need to be more compassionate and more forgiving of others, while also holding them accountable for their actions. And so if Unity is able to change, then I will continue to use them. If the tool set works for me in terms of making the game I want to make. If they continue to learn from their mistake and I'm still working on Coco Loco, I've basically made my decision already anyways. For me to immediately stop working on Unity right now, they need to update the version of the engine I'm working on and just screw it up. They need to incorporate ads, pop-ups. It needs to be slow. It needs to delete my assets. It needs to corrupt files. It needs to be a broken mess. And I'm saying the specific version I'm using, which I can't do because, the engine I've got, it doesn't really update. I just kind of keep that version. And I'll finish working on Coco Loco. and I will, in the next project, reconsider what tool sets I need to make what my vision is. And if Unity has that, and they're able to do that, and I think that they, as a company, stand for the correct things, and they've learned from their mistakes, then I might consider them. But at the end of the day, for me, none of this is political. None of it's political. I think things have been politicized so much now that I can't watch a movie or listen to a song without thinking, how left or right leaning is this? So I'm interested to hear your thoughts and reactions to my comments. This is definitely something I tried to kind of shift in a different direction because people have been saying the same thing in different videos. In a way, this is me in making this video processing my stance on what has happened. But this is a topic that I kind of just felt that I personally needed to get off my chest before showing you more stuff in Unity, and people were asking me more questions on why I'm still using it. And as well, having freaked out at the start of this controversy, realizing, oh my gosh, this engine that I use and love, it's ruined forever now because of these 2 news stories. Realizing that, well, no, your toolset hasn't changed. Just people who were running it have made some dumb decisions. I mean, I made dumb decisions all the time. I left tissues in my laundry, and then I did the laundry, and it did not end well. My wife has forgiven me, and I'm going to try and do better next time. And hopefully, the same circumstance can happen here. So, thank you all for watching. Hope to see you in the next video, which will be a devlog. And if you're new to the channel, then subscribe, like, and if you enjoyed this content as well and want to contribute financially to help edit videos and go towards other cool stuff for the business, then there's a Ko-Fi link in the description where you can sign up for a monthly subscription. You'll get your name in the credits somewhere. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.